Hi everyone, Skeptic Fox here, and I've got a bit of a thought exercise today. It comes from a Twitter poll that Suit Yourself posted on Monday, which reads, "What's more important to Americans, freedom of speech, expression, or the indoctrination of children into a religion that mutilates genitals?" Now, after speaking with Suits and talking about how broad this overall topic can be, I decided to answer the question as this: when do freedoms endanger others? And should we, and if we do, to what extent should we act on them? Now, this is a great question. Hats off to Suits for that, because it just brings up so many elements. For example, are some freedoms more important than others? And in what situations are some freedoms more important than others? Now, I will be trying to answer the question in relation to the original tweet as much as possible, but forgive me if I don't do it as much as people would like. Now again, this is just a thought exercise. It's not your typical debunk video. I'm not advocating for cracking down on any of these freedoms. It's just to try and get a conversation going about it, because I genuinely think that it's a very interesting conversation to have. So I'm going to start off by talking about freedom of speech. Freedom of speech. It's what democracy is built on. But with freedom of speech comes the danger of bad and sometimes downright dangerous ideas. For example, religions that teach morals that are no longer compatible with the West and have no place in civilized society can lead people to commit horrendous crimes. For example, the Pulse nightclub shooting that we had towards the end of 2016, or the show Queer Kid Stuff, which actively encourages children and parents to bring children to activist events, potentially dangerous situations where children have already been hurt. And last year, a baby, after being brought to a protest for Black Lives Matter, even died. Children, it could be argued, are especially at risk at the dangers that freedom of speech possesses, as they have not developed the critical thinking skills to see past the lies, logical fallacy, and hypocrisy of certain movements. Do we then have a duty to protect these children from dangerous ideologies or speech that encourages potential dangerous actions that could harm them physically or mentally? Would protecting children from freedom of speech be really that bad then, if it was done to stop them becoming terrorists or hateful bigots, or even suffering from mental health issues? At what stage do we decide that freedom of speech is endangering children or the lives of others? And what do we do about it if we decide to do anything at all? However, if we do decide to do something, this also brings up problems. Who decides when freedom of speech is too much of a threat to be ignored? There are people such as Steve Shives who have openly admitted that they would shut down freedom of speech that they disagreed with. If someone with this mindset was tasked with such an important job of deciding what speech was acceptable, don't we run the risk of only having a dangerous dogmatic view if that's the view they deem acceptable? Perhaps then it is best to allow all speech, no matter how disagreeable that we find it, as surely it is safer to guarantee logical thoughts rather than run the risk of only having one dangerous mindset. Freedom of movement is also a freedom that causes problems, as this quote-unquote Muslim ban has highlighted. It is an undeniable fact that the refugee crisis in Europe has led to increased crime, more terrorism, and the loss of freedom of life for some. The threat to other freedoms that freedom of movement possesses is equally highlighted when one takes into account that a poll found that 21% of the Syrian refugees supported ISIS. This threat is something that is shared by all, regardless of race, gender, and even religion. So, is the quote-unquote Muslim ban such a bad thing if it guarantees that America is protected from the same problems that Europe has suffered? However, by taking away freedom of movement, we can also be condemning innocent people to suffering and danger to their lives. What we are left with then is a situation where by giving or taking away freedom of movement, we put people's lives at risk. Each moral action will also have an immoral consequence. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Freedom of press is also an important part of a democracy and of course a republic, but as I'm sure we're all aware, this can also have negative consequences. The media holds a powerful position over the public, especially those with busy lives. They decide what news we see and don't see, what truth they show us, or what lies they tell us, which, as Sagan has demonstrated, is a powerful tool that is easily abused by companies such as CNN. Or, as I believe I have demonstrated in previous videos, the 31% increase in hate crimes, which was thrown around by newspapers such as The Guardian, despite the fact that the very nature of how these statistics were gathered are inaccurate and misleading. This could be potentially dangerous, as an uninformed public can result in violence, as with the knowledge that they believe to be true, the people that they are attacking are the evil ones and the immoral ones. We have seen this process in action, with the attacks and harassment on Trump supporters, as the media has branded these people racist, xenophobic, Islamophobic, and homophobic, when in reality, these are just normal, everyday people with different political views, or had an opposition to Hillary. With this in mind, and the constant race baiting that certain media outlets have pushed, is it unreasonable for America to introduce libel laws, or in other countries, to extend these libel laws to stop these violent actions from occurring? As violence used against someone is in itself an attack on one of their freedoms. But yet again, by attacking this freedom in order to protect people, wouldn't we also be opening ourselves up to other dangers? One possible outcome could be that journalists who have not intentionally deceived the public, but rather ignorance and laziness, could be punished. Would it be wrong to do this? Would it also be wrong to give the journalists the benefit of the doubt, giving their reputation? Limiting freedom of the press would also result in the same problems as limiting freedom of speech. Who would get to decide what was in the media? Surely this responsibility would fall to the state, and as historical examples have shown, when the government is in control of the media, it becomes a tool of propaganda and not a tool to enlighten the people. Perhaps then it is best that we keep freedom of press in its entirety. Although this protects the right of the deceitful and the dishonest to spread their lies, it would also preserve the right of the good and the honest to share ideas, to criticise, and to enlighten the public. Also, could freedom of expression lead to more dangers towards children as well? There is a page on Facebook and Twitter called Clovergender. It's a satire pedo site that mockingly advocates to getting rid of the minimum age law. At least that is what I am told. However, looking through their Twitter and their Facebook, there is no obvious sign that this is in fact satire, other than the nagging voice in the back of my head telling me this shit can't possibly be true. Does this site actually promote paedophilia? Or can it be used as cover for those who are paedophiles? Or perhaps it's used as bait to lure the paedophiles out? The problem is, we don't know. When someone wishes to express something, it is not always done in an accurate way, therefore the meaning gets lost. And let's not pretend that this group hasn't got influence. Suit Yourself has done many videos on this Safe Schools, which is organised by people with paedophilia connections. These Safe Schools are in operation in America and in Australia. Twitter has also been known to have a child porn problem that doesn't get dealt with. So has Candid. So should we pass a law to make it the responsibility of the social media platforms to protect these children from harm? But then, what is considered harm? Could this definition be expanded? When someone wants to pass a bill, think about the children is often an effective cry into getting that bill passed. But could that pose dangers? For example, if a law is passed which makes Twitter responsible for protecting children from harm, can that definition of harm be expanded? Does it mean that they will have to block certain political views if we see them as harmful? Content which might not be considered harmful by us could be considered harmful by other people. So by protecting people from freedom of expression, we could inadvertently get rid of freedom of expression altogether. So do we just hope then that common sense and logic will prevail? Do we do nothing? And of course, the obvious freedom that causes problems: freedom of religion. One rather contradictory form of freedom of religion in many countries is the legalizing of gay marriage and the outlawing of discrimination based on sexuality. On the face of it, there's no problems here. However, imagine this situation. A gay couple want to get married. They go into a wedding cake shop. However, the shop owner doesn't believe in gay marriage. However, the law protecting the religious freedom of the gay couple demands that the shop owner make a cake for that wedding. Therefore, by giving freedom of religion to one person, we're actively taking it away from another person by taking away his right to not partake in religion. And what about Sharia law? If we protected religious freedoms to the extreme, we would allow the practice of Sharia law. However, it's quite clearly at odds with our other freedoms. Then we have the Jewish practice of circumcision, which to my knowledge is widely used across America. Now, by circumcising a child, surely we are taking away his bodily autonomy before he's even capable of deciding what he wants to do with it for the sake of religious freedom. You've also got the problem of creationists, who, especially a problem in America, who want to teach creationism alongside actual science. Freedom of religion then probably brings more negative outcomes than any other freedom. However, if we crack down on this freedom, we would be controlling thought. We would be controlling ideas. What kind of precedent would that be setting? Is it better to have freedom of religion, to let all these bad ideas out in the world as a protection for our other freedoms? So I'm going to end it here. Like I said, this was just a thought exercise. I've tried not to put my opinions into this too much. Just thought that there were some things there which were worth thinking about. So I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments, so please put your opinions down below. If any of you are content creators and make a video, please let me know because I would love to watch them. And if you like this video, then like, share, subscribe, and I shall see you next time.